I just want to mention that I was a bit struck by your speech or your presentation of all the maps, because maps can tell you a lot, and maps can also be cheating a little bit. It's all about perspective, right? So just imagine I grew up, like we all did, before internet and Google and all that. So a map was a map. And for a Norwegian, more than for a Lithuanian, when I grew up, Norway, on the big world maps, I love maps, by the way. I love globes and I love maps. I always learn something new when I look at the map. But then when I grew up, on the world map, Norway was almost in the middle. It was huge. So I grew up believing that I come from a country in the middle, huge. And it had to be, I was in 1991, I was in Singapore for the first time as a student. I was 25 years old. We came to Singapore in 1991, a bunch of students from my school, the Norwegian School of Economics, to study shipping in Singapore for 2.5 weeks. That was quite exciting, actually, back in the days. And of course, these companies also had world maps in their offices. And but they were not the right ones. They were wrong. Absolutely wrong. What do you think happened? They had themselves in the middle. Can you believe it? And when you put Singapore in the middle of a world map, what do you think happens to Norway? We sat there, students of economics and business, who all thought we came from this huge country in the middle of the world, just to realize that when you see it from that side, the perspective of Asia, I can tell you Norway is up to the left, almost on the backside. It did something to our self-confidence immediately. And then we realized, of course, we are just next to London, the GMT, the Greenwich Mean Time. We are big because of the extrapolation of the size of Norway. So we had all grown up believing that we were so big in the middle of the world, and we realized we were just a piece of shit, really there. So that was it. That was 1991 for you guys. Now, this distinguished bunch of gentlemen, they are important in different ways. We have already said that you are one of the most important people in this country because you run the port of a country that is very dependent on that port. We have the Klaipėda Free Economic Zone. And I have found something interesting about Eimantas. He hasn't been presented before, but I guess most of you know him. He's running the Klaipėda Free Economic Zone. We just found out that you are younger than me. You are 53, I'm 57. And I say this because there are 2 years very significant to our discussion, 1989 and 1991. And sometimes when I'm here, I ask people, where were you in 1991? Where were you in 1989? And Eimantas, you have a lot of roles. But the most interesting I found, and then I have to tell you that I did my thesis in Riga in 1992. And when we came to Riga in 1992 from the West, there were 2 words. 2 words. They would all come and say to you, joint venture. They would all make joint ventures. And then you said, about what? And they said, anything. And do you remember Libra? Sure. So he was a partner in Libra from May 1991 to June 1992. This is when I was in Riga doing my thesis. And that is a trading company founded by university students to participate in the new economy possibilities. That's amazing. So in 1991, you started Libra together with some other students, and the aim was to participate in the new economy possibilities. How did that go?
Libra now is one of the biggest holdings in Lithuanian financial, but I left Libra in...
Microphone, please.
Yeah, sorry. I left these new economic opportunities too early. I left Libra in '93, and now Libra is one of the best companies in financial industry in Lithuania, Libra Holdings. So maybe we succeeded because I left. I'm not so
Fantastic.
sure.
A big hand. You know what? Come on, give him a big hand. You saw the opportunity and you want to do something about it, and that's awesome. Now, what we're going to talk about today in this panel is Klaipėda as the sort of the blue economic capital of the Baltics. And I would like to draw your attention to the title of the panel is actually Klaipėda, the maritime capital of the Baltics. Last year, Klaipėda ID issued this press release. And in that, they say Klaipėda looks to position itself as the blue economy capital of the Baltics. And there's a lot about the blue economy and the growth and the importance of the blue economy. And then it says that Klaipėda's vision is to become a globally acknowledged blue economy hub offering rapid solutions as the best place to live, work, rest, Diana, that's a good one, and invest in the Baltic region. And then some of you might remember that Klaipėda ID, some years ago, they made the Klaipėda 2030 goals, which was quite impressive. I saw them, I've used them many times to show, and that was quite impressive. Can I have up that slide, please, that I wanted to have up? So what I want to draw the attention to, and these gentlemen know about that, is two reports that we are now going to look into a little bit. The left is a report made by Men on Economics in Norway every 2 years, together with DNV, Norske Veritas, called The Leading Maritime Cities of the World. I'm a part of this team doing this. And they measure the leading maritime cities in the world based on 5 pillars. Those pillars are shipping centers, to what extent these towns are shipping centers, to what extent they have maritime finance and law available, maritime technology, ports and logistics, and then the last one is very important, and that's attractiveness and competitiveness. Like you want to live and rest in Klaipėda. And what they do here, the 4 first ones are based on objective data from a huge database with 15,000 cities around the world. So they make a ranking of those 15,000 cities, and then they choose the 50 sort of best ones to move into to look at the last one, which is attractiveness and competitiveness, and that is judged by a panel of experts around the world, because that's subjective data. Now, of course, as you can all understand, Klaipėda is not on the list of, it's a very big port town, and I will give you some dates, but it's not on the list of the biggest ones, so it's never been ranked like that. But the reason I put this one up is that Estonia suddenly came and said, we would like to have a report made based on 5 pillars. Accidentally, they were the same as Menon's, and they wanted to do this to strengthen their own maritime industry. And to make a long story short, Menon did the tender, they did the report, and this was launched and is publicly available. So there's no secret about this. And in the audience today, we have a woman called Rina Palu. Rina, where are you? Up there. Rina, she is now working to establish the maritime cluster of Estonia. They want to do something. So the reason I bring this up is that when this report was made, we already had the 4 objective data, but then the subjective data were discussed by a group of experts. And actually, it's really interesting to see the figures, because when it comes to attractiveness and competitiveness, Tallinn ended up number 19. They are shipping centers, they're number 97. Athens is number 1. Maritime finance and law, they are 75. New York is number 1. Oslo is number 4. Maritime technology, they are number 50. Singapore is number 1. Oslo number 2. Ports and logistics, 217. We'll get back to that. And Shanghai is number 1. Attractiveness and competitiveness, number 19. Singapore is number 1. Oslo number 5. So this is the background that we now have for this report. And Rina is here today because she is now working for the government in Estonia to try to increase their own maritime industry. And I think this is an interesting backdrop for today's discussion, because we are discussing today Klaipėda, the maritime capital of the Baltics. And we all know that Klaipėda is a fantastic port town. And I can tell you that in terms of these objective data, when it comes to ports and logistics, Klaipėda is ranked number 53 in the world. And that's not bad. These are 15,000 cities all around the world. A lot of them are in China, and so on. So number 53, that's objective data we have. It's not based on people's perceptions, it's based on rankings, based on some different criteria that are objective. Just so you know. Well, getting back to the panel, I would like first to ask you, the question is, how does Klaipėda compare with other potential maritime capitals in the Baltics? Who are they? Tallinn or whatever, and what needs to be done to make sure Klaipėda, in fact, is that maritime capital that we last year said we would like it to be in this press release. So I think I will start with you, Latakas, from the port. Now, Lithuania has only got one seaport and a very short coastline. You know, if you think about it, you have a long, long beach side, but only about 1 kilometer or something is the industrial part of that, being the port of Klaipėda, the entry to the port of Klaipėda. So if you look at this from Google Earth, you see only a small fraction of your coastline being commercial, which is different in Latvia and Estonia and, of course, in these other countries. So I have to say to the director of the port, Lithuania has only one seaport and a very short coastline. How do you manage, or how does the town manage to compete and even lead the Baltic states in terms, as I understand, of cargo volumes, number of vessels serviced, and so on? What are the ingredients of this seemingly success recipe so far?
Yes. Tom, sorry very much, but I have to correct you a little bit because you have to know that Lithuania has now 2 seaports. A few months ago, it was announced that we have another one, Šventoji, and very good now. We have one competitor in a country, so we will proceed much more better. But really, Lithuania is short with a coastline, only somewhere 100 kilometers of coastline, and what to say, the most part of them is in Curonian Bay, so everything is a national park, so you can't use for the port activities, and probably nobody will let to use some coasts in the north of us. But anyway, in a port we have now 22 kilometers of quay walls, so it's not so small amount. But the answer is probably there is many factors why Klaipėda port succeed, but probably there are 2 things to bold. First one, it was said in the beginning by Mr. Rakutis, and he showed the maps. And the map shows first one thing that Klaipėda and Lithuania in this case is in a very good geographical position. And all the time, the port is very old one from 1253, when it was created Klaipėda city. So the port starts its activities, and it starts not because of something else as a good position. And we know that from that time, port develops, and develops because a lot of merchants were around of us. It is the first one thing. And in new days as well, before 2020, we had very good one geographical position, and we have it now if the right scenario will come to us, and it will come, I think so. But now everything changes, and now we see that because of this geographical position that we are surrounded by not very friendly countries, and our values, they are different. We lost around 45% of cargoes during one night, so sometimes it's very painful. Another one thing is, without this position, our position which we have, it's all the time Klaipėda port has a stable strategy for development. And if we take which one period you want, we can take from very beginning. Even we know that on 16th century, the port developed so high that the neighbors from Danzig, they shut down the port with the stones because it was so, it grows so much. After, to say, the first one, World War, 1923, again, Lithuanian government, when the port was returned back to the country, they put a lot of money to develop quay walls. It was developed winter port. Many things they did it because it was strategy to develop. And at that time, people understand that infrastructure, it's a very serious thing if you want to make business. And we can continue and continue and continue. And we will see that today we have port because of this strategy. From 1990, when we regained our independence, and we can see that 92 was created Port Authority, and all the time was spent a lot of money for infrastructure to develop a port. And today port has very attractive to say characteristics of the port. We have very good depth. We have a lot of quay walls, I said, 22 kilometers. And all those things led to build business for private companies, stevedoring companies. They put a lot of money to make a superstructure. And now port is very diversified, very good parameters has, good traffic, good safety, everything is in a highest level. And only one my aim is that at this situation, what we have now, that nobody take in mind that we have to stop to put money on infrastructure and to develop our port. All bad times, at one point, they shut down. So you have to be prepared for the new possibility.
Yes. Do you feel that the government is supporting you the way you need the support from the government?
Always, always the support for the government, but this one government and previous one government, I hope that the next one government, they are from the same people, from the same country, and everybody of them, they understand that really efforts should be done that to keep port as it is today. And today, really, we are proud that during this situation, anyway, we are the biggest port in a Baltic states region.
Good. Technology, can you come? The microphone is almost falling off. Anyway, Eimantas, you have, when you left Libra and lost this big opportunity for what is then, that's a big company, you did something very unique. You went in to lead Klaipėda Free Economic Zone, Klaipėda FEZ, which is, as far as I understand, is it the biggest one in the Baltics? Or?
Let's see. I'm always saying that in marketing and sales, you can be always most successful in one or another field. So just use the word most successful FEZ in the Baltics.
So when you say that, you believe yourself?
Sorry?
So when you say that, you believe that?
Absolutely. And I set up ambition.
So you are the most successful in the Baltics?
Most successful. We have most successful free economic zone in the Baltics.
But what I would like to ask you, how important for you is, I guess you all know the Klaipėda Free Economic Zone, where it is, the distance, the big, is kind of big, and you have a lot of factories, and you have offices and different things. I've been there many times. How important is the port for you? How significant is the port?
In my head, after your first statement, is more important question, how you got that CV? Because actually it was, I was using it only once for explaining my wife what I was doing before marriage, and that was kind of a purpose of that CV.
I can tell your wife a lot
Thank
of
you
stuff.
for bringing
Just
that back.
ask your wife to call me, I will tell her a lot of stuff.
But speaking seriously, you asked the question. I mean, we are very much connected. I should make a disclaimer that I'm a land person. I feel much better on the land than on the ship. And when my friends are putting me on a yacht, I'm a one which usually have 2 safety items instead of one. But we are 15 minutes from the port. Then there is a traffic jam in Klaipėda, like 6 kilometers from here. But as soon as you started and Lithuanian government started to plan offshore windmills, we started to receive leads or potential prospects on windmill parts production. So we are very much connected. And if we'll sign 2, end of this year or beginning next year, 2 biggest contracts on factory attractions, they will be related to what you will be doing in the sea. So we're very much connected. Docker fasteners, which was shown by Ambassador, it's also in a free economic zone territory. So our biggest customers, which are producing PET, we're using your facilities as well. So even being the land person every day, I am in my business and in my management, I am connected to whatever going on in maritime industry. When you were asking a question, if we should be capital of Baltics in maritime industry, first of all, Klaipėda should be capital of something, right? And it's much better to be capital of the Baltics than capital of Lithuania. So we have an ambition. Let's first set up ambition and move to that ambition. Can we reach that? We as Lithuanians, if we make, I think, perhaps many other nations as well, if we make a decision, we reach the goals. Some 10 years ago, we decided that we need to establish, in my field, let's say, that we should become, Lithuania should become a center of business services. Now we have about 25,000 people which are working in highly paid places in this sector, and 10 years ago it was only 500 and it was 1 or 2 companies. Now we have 90 companies. 5 years ago we have been jealous that Estonians have some unicorns and we don't. We made a decision that we investing in this area of startups. Now we have 2 or 4 unicorns which are already in Lithuania, depending on methodology. 6 years ago, government decided that we should invest with fintech. Lithuanian bank made special decision, and now we are one of the centers of fintech industry in Eastern and Central Europe. So first of all, to make a decision. If we'll make a decision that we would like to be a capital in maritime industry, we will be, just a time issue. Environment around, based on our experiences, is kind of perfect. Because there are a lot of changes going on in the value chain. So the companies are relocating and we're moving many tendencies for our market in the value chain, but at least many companies are moving more to European Union from China, from other not so secure regions. Value chain is changing to our direction, so there are a lot of opportunities on our market. At the same time, emerging new industries, which are also related to maritime industry as well. So industries of the future, which will come in 5-6 years, immediate industries like these offshore parts producers. So again, there are opportunities on the market, just we need to catch them. And, but first of all, we need to make a decision. So I would say if we will set up this ambition, if we agree on an action plan, opportunities are where we have everything in Klaipėda what we need to develop that further. So our main thing would be not if, but when, how, and what ambition we will set up. Because if Oslo could be number 2 city in maritime industry, so I would say, do we think we cannot do the same or better than Norwegians? For sure we can, so let's try to do it.
Good, I like that. Just one question, dude. This might be a bit difficult for you to answer, but do you think that the port is doing what it can do to be as good as it can?
Port?
Yeah.
I think port is doing, having the facilities and doing an actions which we still should follow. So we are catching up. For us, it's really enough.
Do you work as a good team with the port? Because the port is important for you.
Absolutely. Klaipėda has one advantage, which is very cozy city. So we know each other, we cooperate with each other, we can make quick decisions together.
Yeah, you look like a bunch of good friends here. Artūras, I have to move to the university because if you think about what we just saw, these 5 pillars, attractiveness and competitiveness is a very important one. You might have everything you want in place, but if you lack that one, you don't really go anywhere. So both FES and you are part of that. We already have the ports and logistics, very high, I have to say, for Klaipėda. But if there were to be a study made and people would ask about what is university, what is the Klaipėda Free Economic Zone and so on, what would you be in that, you think?
Thank you, Tom. To achieve this goal, this challenges goal, it's very important to cooperate with industry, governments, and academia. I think academia is very important as ecosystem as well. And we have a good starting position now in Klaipėda University and other applied sciences universities, but I am representing Klaipėda University. Good position from the international viewpoint of view, like you know, since 2019, Klaipėda University started as European University, one of the coastal sustainable areas university, and from this year we have Horizon project as excellent center for maritime coastal universities, together with 9 universities.
The Connexus.
Connexus, yes. It's a pity we have not Norwegian universities in our consortium, but we mostly are from the northeast part of university. The universities, Klaipėda University is one of them. And as well, today, after the panel, we have graduation diplomas of Blue Growth Academy from EU Connexus, and not only Lithuanian, but as well from abroad, students like MBA, one kind of MBA, and I think it's very good. It's a nice position for start and for cooperation, and like Excellence Ambassador mentioned, our universities in this summer in Svalbard, one expedition together with other from Norway, from Polish Academy.
Yep.
They perform a great job in Svalbard in an Arctic expedition. It's a position, yeah.
But I have to ask you, Artūras, because you are a medical doctor.
Yes.
I'm sure you all know that. So you have very safe hands. You know, if anything happens, you just go to Artūras, he will fix you. Now, if we were to look at Klaipėda as a patient, all right?
Yeah.
And you know the criteria for what it should be.
Yeah. Yes, but
What would you do?
yeah,
What tools would you use?
General director of port authorities, they mentioned about blue blood.
Blue blood. Okay.
I'm more convenient with red blood, but it changes from red to blue, and you know, in biotechnology, red biotechnology is very important as well. It's a medicine in red biotechnology, with vaccines and drugs, but I think yes, it's now is evaluation from the birth to we are maybe in childhood of maritime capital.
Yeah.
You know, and we know that almost all capitals in Baltic are ports. But Klaipėda is not a capital of Lithuania, yes.
No.
But yes, we have a good starting position, and we must do best.
I think it's good to hear you say that. It's not the capital of Lithuania, but it's the capital of the Baltics, right? That's the aim. That's quite big, here it goes. Now, Valdas, first of all, you have this in your hands. You say that you are now in charge of writing the maritime strategy. It will be launched in May next year. So it's a bit up to you. And I know that you are worrying about 3 factors. You are worrying about the security challenges facing you right now. We mentioned the geopolitics, so we can't not look into that. You are worried about climate change. Or, I mean, not worried, but you look how that does affect Klaipėda and Lithuania. And you are worrying about demography. Demography meaning people, lack of people. I don't know if you know that, but China is now doing the biggest decline in population in the world history. They go from 1.3 billion to under 900 million in a few decades. Last year, they lost 800,000 people, so the decline has started. This has to do with demography. We know what is happening many, many years ahead. So Valdas, how would you comment on those 3, security, climate, and demography for Lithuania/Klaipėda?
I think security situation is things we do and we understand problems. We understand and we do and we have a support. Really, we never have so big support for Lithuania security as we have now. Really. Germany brigade. And Germany say not only about brigade. They say about geopolitical interest of Germany in Lithuanian security. It means also naval and also airspace. So we have support. And balancing between Germany and Poland, I will say, and Baltic states, we will be the most successful state from security point. Really, we are a strong state. And if in the future Kaliningrad will lost its position as a Russian fortress, it will be new possibilities for Klaipėda because you will have direct contact, railroad contact to the Central Europe. Really, very good position. If we talk about climate changes, what it means? That most of the countries will have problems with seashore, with infrastructure of ports, because such centimeters and sometimes meters of sea level is a big problem for Netherlands, but not for Klaipėda, because Baltic Sea is more or less separated from North Sea. Not big differences, but exist. So we are quite secure place from climate changes, and even in better will be situation than 100 years before, about ISIS, yes. It will be a very nice place for life and for business, really. Even tourism will be developed. And the third one, situation with people. We not recognize that we have problems. We are in so bad situations that we not recognize for ourselves, our government, not discuss this deeply as much as possible. First views, first declarations, first yes. But really we have to understand that we have to invest into the people who live in the region of Klaipėda.
Okay, so all this will probably come in the strategy. I have one person in the audience who has volunteered to say some words about his advice to you to become and to maintain the role as capital of the Baltics. Artūr, where are you? Artūras? Yeah, can you stand up or you want to come down? Just shout out or you can come down. Artūras, we had a meeting last night. He is from OJ Crew. OJ means offshore jobs. And he has a company, or he works in a company that deals with all the 3 Baltic states. You can come here. Now, Artūr, we have allowed you to say a few words. Can you put on the microphone, please? So that you can just give your advice to this panel of gentlemen and also to Valdas, who is doing this maritime strategy work for Lithuania.
Yeah, good day, everyone. Not a problem for me to give a question and also an advice. I represent perhaps the most important link in the whole blue industry is the human resource. And my experience comes from the international relations and networking. We see the trends, we see the development in human resource management, and we see where Lithuania and Baltic stands in terms of competitiveness. So my advice would be think about the law and enforcement of the laws in regards to a system and a bureaucracy and how easy it is to implement the business and to get international resources in Baltics or in Lithuania. This is the opportunity for us to develop in the future, especially when we talk about decreasing amount of human resources locally in combination with education. So that's the focus I would like to bring attention to.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you so much. To legislation. I can tell you that for Estonia, we have these 5 pillars, maritime law and finance is the number of maritime law firms you have, but attractiveness and competitiveness is how the laws work. And this was a big issue in Estonia. They have tried to adapt laws and regulations, but then when we interviewed people, they said that, well, we need to do this and so to make it more smooth. Now, he was very happy about you last night, about Lithuania. So this was not a complaint, this was just an encouragement. So we have run out of time, but I would like to have all of you have one last comment about what you see as the sort of possibilities for Klaipėda becoming and being the maritime capital, but also what do you see as threats? All right? Be serious now. What are the threats? Valdas, you can start and we'll go this round back.
I will say, I talk a lot about problems and challenges, but I will say that our success is in cooperation inside Klaipėda, inside region, inside Baltic countries, inside Polish, Germany, Sweden, yes, and if in university we develop such skills for people to cooperate, specific feature we need in Klaipėda will be the most successful capital of the Baltic Seas.
Okay, thank you, Professor Doctor. And then we have Artūras.
Yeah, and like example of manifesto, show the possibilities for Klaipėda. And thank you very much for Ambassador Norway and you, Tom. 3 times third time here, you moderator. I think, and you can show possibilities for the strengths for maritime. For development of maritime research and ecosystem, to strengthening of ecosystems here.
But then threats. One threat. Artūras, come on. You have there must be one threat.
No.
One threat to the whole thing. What could that be?
Sorry?
One threat. I mean, what could change this thing?
But I think it's need, like I mentioned before, it's need a cooperation more with local and national government, and like you mentioned in opening speech, we must change our thinking that we are a maritime capital.
Yeah.
Yes, and we are maritime republic as well.
So basically, the collaboration between Vilnius and Klaipėda has to be as strong as it can.
It's very important.
Very
yes,
good.
yes.
Okay, that's for you, Valdas. You're doing this committee. And then you, Eimantas.
Yeah, two threats, business as usual. If we'll not move, if we'll not make actions on attracting people here, more people and better conditions for them, both physically, legally. Second threat is connection. It was mentioned on the map. We need to make more connections for Klaipėda and improve it essentially. But one more opportunity, as you saw also on a gray scenario, the market in the west, in that sea direction, is much bigger. So don't look anymore to the east, go west.
Good. Okay, go west. Good. And then the last word. Last word is to the port. What do you see?
Yeah, you know, I see the biggest threat climate change because up to now we had very good competitive feature, and always we say that Klaipėda port is ice-free port.
Yeah.
And other ports in the north countries, they are frozen in winter time, but now during this climate change, there is no more ice in the Baltics. So it's a very big threat for us. But of course, I agree that probably the main problem and the main threat is when you go sometimes to eat somewhere during the lunchtime in a cafe in a Klaipėda city, and the cafes, they are empty. There are no people, neither young, neither old, and you feel very, very like in a desert. So on that's, to my mind, it's a main threat. And we have to make everything in this region that to attract people back from Vilnius, from another bigger cities, and even from abroad.
Thank you. I just want to make thank you so much. I just want to make a final comment about climate change and climate, because I happen to be involved in the beginning of the planning of the International Northern Sea Route, which was to sail across Russia, to cut for many days of sailing around Africa to Japan and to Asia. And the Northern Sea Route project was based on Russian involvement. This is this was back in the 90s, before things developed the way they developed. And then Russia had a plan to use icebreakers, atomic-driven icebreakers from Murmansk. I even was with Murmansk Shipping Company. And the plan was that Russia would control the whole fleet of ships going through, using the icebreakers, and they would control, and they would set up support systems, and of course charge money. So this was meant to be an income source for Russia. But then climate change came, and suddenly the ice disappeared. And suddenly ships could go further out. They didn't need to go within the Russian territory anymore. So climate change can have great impacts, positive side, like you have said, in a way, and they can have very negative sides, and they can also affect business models. So with that, we don't know what's going to happen. We just have to hope the best. But thank you to the panel. Give them a big, big hand. Thank you to all of you.